Hey there, everybody, and welcome to Real Time, where we are live talking about film and television and everything in between. Today, we have a very special guest, Mr. Mohammad Zeyara, who's going to be talking about his journey to becoming an inspiration for others, and we're going to dive right into that right after this. Hey there, everybody. Mustafa Talib here with Cinema King Productions, and thank you all so much for tuning in on Real Time, where we are live talking about film and television and everything in between, and that includes social media. And today's guest, I'm very, very excited, and I'm very happy that he's joining us, is none other than Mohammad Zeyara. So, everybody, please give it up for him. Mohammad, you are on.
That's nice.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, bro.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How about yourself?
Alhamdulillah. Thank you again so much for taking the time to be on the show. I know you're very busy doing a lot. So let's kind of just dive right into it. If you could just briefly introduce yourself.
Okay, my name is Mohammad Zeyara. I was born in Canada. I am currently a medical student, fourth year medical student. I'm studying in Chicago.
MashaAllah.
And yeah, what I love to do, I basically focus on humanitarian work. I like producing film like yourself.
Yeah.
I'm not as good as you, but I try.
No. I mean, any effort is good effort.
Yeah. And I like to empower youth. This is something that I find a lot of. I find myself when I empower others, and this is where my passion is. And yeah, that's the gist of it.
That's amazing, mashallah. So let's talk about, I guess, from the beginning. How did you become a household name in the Muslim American context?
So I originally started when I was maybe 17,
Mm-hmm.
and I was in high school. I had just come back from Palestine. I saw a lot of things that were there, so it motivated me. I remember that was originally the first push
Mm-hmm.
that I had,
You
and
saw some occupation, you saw the corruption, you saw just injustice happening, and so you just felt you had to do something about it.
yeah, I mean, you know how it is. Whenever you see something that's upsetting and shocking to you as a kid, you feel
Mm-hmm.
like you wanna change everything about that.
Absolutely.
And yeah, the best way that I was able to express myself was through film and through videos and through sharing what's happening over there and in other places all over the world.
Mm-hmm. For
Yeah,
sure. So, I remember, I think it was one of your earliest uploads that I guess went viral was you were out in Canada. I forgot, was it Toronto
yeah,
or Ontario? And you were going around just asking people to watch a little clip of what's happening overseas that is not being reported in mainstream media, and just to get the reaction. And I mean, how did that, like, I guess, take off, or how
yeah.
did
I
that come
mean,
about?
yeah. There was a channel called Like for Syria, and they were doing a lot of videos for Syria and what was happening over there.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, our way of contributing to what was happening was through raising awareness and showing people what was happening over there. So yes, we did go to Toronto, and we showed a clip of what was happening in Syria, and people were affected by it, and we got that on film and we posted it, and it went viral. Yeah,
Mashallah, that's
yeah,
that's amazing. And then that again, and you know this, like, you know, the power of media in any capacity is that, you know, it creates change, it creates discussion, and you know, the power of influence as well. So I guess my next question would be: at what point did you feel that you had a power of influence? Like, what was going on? I remember we talked about this when we first met, oh so many years ago. There was some things going on overseas, and you had written some posts, and then somehow those went kind of berserk and viral. Like, talk about that a little bit.
So I am originally from Gaza City in Palestine, and that's where I went. All my family is from there.
Yeah.
My cousins, my best friends are from there. I mean, I grew up there. At the end of the day, I spent 5 years of my childhood there.
Hmm.
And what was happening? It was during the 2014 war.
Right.
I just, I was putting in so much work, posting, making videos, making clips of what was happening, sharing, and just being active and standing behind the Palestinian cause.
Yeah.
Um, and that was my main, that was what I was known for, being that activist who just came from Gaza and started talking about the oppression that's happening in Gaza and the blockade. And to be honest, I had a lot of stories to share from my experiences in Gaza, and I think
Hmm.
that connected with people very well because I was very genuine.
Yeah.
And it was Gaza that originally gave me the first push of in media and social media. Yeah,
That's great to hear. I mean, of course, it's unfortunate what is or
yeah,
was and still is happening in Palestine and everywhere in the Muslim world. But it is individuals like yourself and others who are doing great work and who are there to tell the stories of those who are being affected by it. And I think that, mashallah, is just in itself a great service to the community. So you kind of were climbing this ladder of popularity, and so when at what point did you feel like you had a power of influence, and when did you have that realization?
Okay, so this is a very interesting question,
Hmm.
because for me, it was around the time of maybe when I was 22 years old.
Hmm.
I realized that there are kids that are looking up to me and people even my age who are messaging and telling me, hey, I look up to you.
Yeah.
And that's very serious in a way. It's a big responsibility.
Exactly. Yeah.
And as soon as I realized that, I was like, oh man, this is serious. So I did cut down dramatically.
Hmm.
Because the reason why I cut down was because I was like, you know what? I only want to speak about what I know for sure about whatever I master. I want to teach to people.
Hmm.
When you start talking to people without knowledge, you might influence people in a negative way. So I took my responsibility very seriously.
Hmm.
Everything I post, I would check with mentors and tell them, what do you think about this and what do you think about that? I didn't post anything that I wouldn't want my younger brother to do.
Hmm.
So I was always careful with what I post. For example, I love driving motorcycles, but
Yeah.
I don't want to put that online because just in case someone starts seeing that and thinking, you know what, I just want to do that, and I put someone's life in danger.
Right.
So they're filtering what you say online is very important because
Hmm.
you have to realize that there are people who are subconsciously even looking up to you,
Hmm.
um, without them even knowing sometimes. Yeah, so it is a big responsibility.
Absolutely, and basically, بالعربي فصيح, like you don't want to say anything حكي فاضي, right?
Yeah, exactly, exactly, exactly.
Uh,
Yeah,
for those who aren't Arab speakers, it means empty talk, right? Just empty talk.
yeah, absolutely.
Right. So you want to have purpose because you see that you have a responsibility, and so you want to make sure, like you said, and I think that is very gracious of you to make sure that you're being authentic and real. Not because you do realize the power that you had on youngsters,
Yeah,
like you had mentioned.
yeah. I mean, this is why I wanted to learn first and educate myself as much as I can in the field of medicine and psychology and psychiatry. This way, I can know how the mind works,
Hmm.
and this way, I can actually use whatever I learned for the community. And
Hmm.
for me personally, all my education, everything that I strive for personally, it's basically me, getting ready to start empowering the youth and helping the youth in ways that are beneficial for them with strong content, of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
And before we continue on, I just want to let y'all who are watching, again, I thank y'all so much for tuning in. And make sure you give it a like and share with others so they can also benefit from this great, message. And then also, if y'all have any questions for Muhammad or myself in terms of filmmaking or, producing content, leave them in the comments down below. And I'll be looking over and trying to answer them as best as we can, inshallah. So moving on.
Yeah.
As you were on this rise, and I remember this conversation with you specifically, what tips do you have on keeping yourself grounded and not letting your ego take over as a social media influencer?
Um, so when you realize for me personally, what keeps me personally grounded is when you look at the universe that we live in, okay, and when you see how small we are as humans on this planet, not to take away from the value of humans. I think that the value of humans is infinite. But I think when you realize your position and how small you are, and Allah told us many times in the Quran, like, humble yourself. You're not gonna, punch the ground, the earth, and all of a sudden just, shatter the earth and all of that. You're not gonna do that.
Yeah.
You're a human being. And obviously, when you realize that, it helps you humble yourself and realize that you're not better than any other people. And I think Allah chooses and gives certain people voices, and that just shows you that it's a responsibility, not something to abuse. And I tried my best to not abuse it as much as I can, in terms of seeing the value of it in a good way and just using it for positives. So keeping myself grounded is always going to be a struggle. I'm not saying that's it, I got it. I've asked many mentors of mine, how do I stay grounded? How do I not, feel this type of arrogance in my heart? And they said, you know what? As long as you're continuously asking this question, and you're constantly working on it, that's all you can do. There is no switch on or off
Right.
switch. You can't
We're,
do
we're,
that. You
we're
just gotta,
human.
yeah, you gotta constantly work on it, pretty much, and that's how it works.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you do me just a quick favor and just bring the microphone just slightly closer to you?
How's this?
That beautiful, mashallah.
Okay.
We do have one question. I'm assuming I don't want to pronounce the name incorrectly, but you know who you are. I guess they are asking to you, Muhammad, what happened to the movie Salahuddin?
Oh man. So Salahuddin, we originally had one episode, okay, and we wanted to pitch it to Netflix and
Yeah.
tell Netflix, you know what, you guys, this is an amazing series, and we want you to produce it for us. And we did this whole campaign so Netflix can listen to us and tell us, so we can at least get Netflix attention. And we
Yeah.
did, and we had a meeting with Netflix, but
Yeah.
unfortunately at that time their budget was low. They were working on different shows at that time, and unfortunately they said we can't do it. But did we get the goal? Did we reach our goal of sitting down with Netflix and actually trying to get them to produce a series? Yes, we did. We accomplished all of that, but
Yeah.
unfortunately, it didn't work out for us. But I don't know how, if whether they want to continue it or not, and they want to try it again. But this is what we're at right now.
I would, in my opinion, I would think that Netflix would be more open to it now versus back when y'all initially approached them, just because we are seeing now, a diversity in different types of content, from different ethnic backgrounds and things like that. And I think you might have a better chance. Again, this is my
Okay.
opinion. I don't know if y'all I mean, do you know if there's any works of that happening, or is it just khalas, let it go kind of
No,
thing?
I don't think it's Khalas Let It Go, because the people who wanted it, they really, really want it to work out.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm curious to know where they're at right now in terms of whether they want to continue or not. So I'll definitely check it out and see if they still want to work on it.
That'd
But
be awesome if
yeah,
we did see, a story of
that
Salahuddin
would be amazing. I know it would be
in
amazing.
mainstream media. Yeah, for sure. Moving on. Let's see. So what I guess inclined you? Mashallah, you were raised with a good Muslim family and all. But what I guess what inclined you to utilize your social media to as a means to do good for others and inspire others.
I mean, it goes back to the point that we spoke about earlier. I've I've traveled quite a bit in my life ever since I was really young,
Mm-hmm.
and bro, when you see people suffering, it makes you question a lot of things. It makes you question, okay, what's my responsibility here? What am I supposed to do? Okay, I see someone in pain. Am I
Mm-hmm.
just gonna watch? And I remember a lot of times when I was in Mali, I would look at people who are suffering, and I would feel some sort of anger. I'm gonna be honest with you,
Yeah.
because we live in the States, and it's like, come on, guys, come on. You guys have so much money and so much blessings, and that
Yeah.
was my whole mission. It's like, come on, guys, like look at this, like so I think seeing people in pain, that's what motivated me the most,
Mm-hmm.
and I've always felt the need to want to do something about it.
Yeah. And is that I'm just taking a guess. Is this from the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad SAW, where he says, if you see an injustice, change it with your hand. If you can't, speak out against it. If not, then hate it in your heart, which is, of course, the lowest of iman, the lowest of faith. Is this where this is coming from?
Absolutely. I mean, there are a lot of hadith that inspire me. The one main one is the best thing you can do in your life is relieving someone's pain or stress.
Mm-hmm.
So even we can relate to this. If one of our friends needs money and they're really really stuck and their life is crumbling, and you come and say, what, here's $5,000, figure out your life, and
Mm-hmm.
and hopefully this works out. You
Yeah.
just relieved someone's stress, and now someone can start their life. So this is what God is talking about in His prophet.
Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. It's
And it's so,
beautiful. Okay. Moving on, let's talk about more, I guess, recent um, productions that you've been involved with. So, what is the story behind creating the highly popular Inspiration series with Sheikh Omar Suleiman, and how did that carry on to becoming renewed for the second season as well?
okay. So originally I was hanging out in Saint Lucia in the Caribbean, and
Mm-hmm.
just doing my thing, and I get an email from Mohammad Bayazid,
Mm-hmm.
and he tells me, "Hey, I'm a director in the Middle East." I didn't know who he was
Mm-hmm.
at that time, but he was at that time very popular in the Middle East. So he messaged me the idea of it, and he said
Mm-hmm.
he's still looking for another public figure to film it. I
Mm-hmm.
was like, you know what? Let me know if anything happens. And then he emails me back telling me Sulaiman is in. I was like, okay. And we met up in Washington D.C. and we filmed it in 2 weeks, back to back,
Mm-hmm.
every single day, no break. We'd
Oh.
start at like 5 a.m. I'd get back home around 1 a.m. Sleep for like 4 hours, 5 hours maximum,
Mm-hmm.
and then get back into it. So it took us about 2 weeks and a half to film.
That's season
Um,
one.
that's season one, yes. And the production of it, of course, maybe pre-production, post-production, it was like 6 months in total. So it
Mm-hmm.
did take some.
I'm sorry, Muhammad. You're cutting up a bit. Are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you. There you are. One more time.
Okay. Yeah, I was just saying that the. I hope you can hear me. It's not cutting off.
I hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I was just saying that. Um, yeah, it took about 6 months to produce. Now, after we released it, people loved it. It was the first time something like this is presented to the Muslim community,
Mm-hmm.
and they wanted more. And
Just real quickly before you continue on, like what was the inspiration series about? A quick synopsis.
Okay, so it was about a young adult to find his Lord, looking to find the right way, the right path.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a struggle that we all have, and it's so funny because because so many times in my life I go through something, and it's like I remember I was filming this in inspiration series,
Right.
so it's literally the story of a Muslim young man or sister in a developed country, in a non-Muslim country,
Mm-hmm.
just a regular young man who's trying to find his way in society, in today's society.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So moving on, what you were saying about how it all unfolded.
Sorry.
I'm saying, like, after the, the 6 months of pre-production and post-production, and then it got widely popular. What happened after that? Are we having some connection? Are you
Can
there?
you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yes, I think we're having some internet connection
Yeah.
issues.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I hear you.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, after it was produced, it was interesting because we had airlines trying to buy it. We had different TV shows. We had Islamic schools that are posting it, and to spread the message. And man,
Mm,
it was very successful. And until now, people keep asking for like a third season,
yeah.
and we'd love to do a third season, but our schedules keep, um, they're not matching together. But hopefully soon we will produce something, inshallah.
Inshallah. So real quick, we have another comment from actually last episode's guest, Miss Lina Muhammad. She's asking for either of us, but I'll let you answer this one. What tips or advice would you have for someone who is interested in creating a unique platform for Muslims via YouTube, Instagram, etc.?
Can you please repeat the question? I think
Is it cut off again? Okay, so one more
yeah.
time. So, what tips or advice would you have for someone who is interested in creating a unique platform for Muslims via YouTube, Instagram, etc.?
So for this, I think that number one is you have to know what you're good at. What is something that you can provide for people?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you just want to post things for the sake of posting, it might not click with people. You have to find something that you are good at. That's number
Mm-hmm.
one.
Yeah.
Number two, you have to find your audience. The age, knowing your audience is very important because when we talk to youth, it's different. The way we talk to youth is different than the way we talk to adults or
Mm-hmm.
elders. So know your audience. Number three, and the most important thing is stay consistent. You
100%.
know, staying consistent is everything because, man, Mustafa, the amount of people that I've met who want to do something and expect results right away,
Yeah.
that's pretty much all of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've been doing this for a long time. I've been doing this for, how long have you been doing this?
Like just filmmaking in general or production?
Yeah,
Uh, Alhamdulillah, about 10 years.
exactly. So that's a long time.
Yeah, it is a long time.
And 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 mashallah, you got something going on, and you found something that you love doing and something that you can stay consistent with you
Yeah.
know and that's what happened with me as well. It took me about 10 years since I started.
Mm-hmm.
So staying consistent is extremely important, of course. And finding your passion, what you're passionate about, is something that's very important as well.
Oh, excellent. And you're right on. You're hitting the nail on the head. I keep saying that phrase wrong, but yes, you're absolutely right in that when you're starting any platform of social media, because it's like an open source. It's a free world, right? To post and say or do anything. and people are bound to see it eventually. But utilizing these platforms, whichever one you want, but then sticking to a niche in terms of your content, and then consistently putting out their content on a frequent basis and sticking to that, and then eventually, like a lot of YouTube gurus or social media gurus, they always talk about consistency is the key, and it is, but also content is king, right? So your
Mm,
content has to be superb, and then in terms of logistics, making sure it is released on a regular schedule so that it is consistent, whatever is in your capacity, and then you just gotta be at it for about 2 years, and then you'll start seeing results. It's never a overnight phenomenon like some rare occasions have happened with that experience, but for anybody else who's just trying to make it, it has to be at least 2 hard years of work and just going at it. So great question, Lena, and I hope that answered your question. Moving on, let's quickly wrap this up so there aren't any more technical difficulties. Um, what other big projects have you been involved with in terms of media?
um, a major one and something that I always look back at and I'm proud of is the projects in Mali. So,
Mm-hmm.
for example, we filmed a documentary called El Najwa Villages,
Mm-hmm.
and the point of that was to raise awareness for clean water, to build water wells and schools and medical clinics in Mali.
Yeah.
Another documentary that we filmed is called An Orphan's Story,
Mm-hmm.
and it talks about orphans and how a lot of we went to Ethiopia and Mali, and we
Mm-hmm.
filmed how orphans their lifestyle and how they live.
Mm-hmm.
And so each documentary helped us raise enough funds to implement the projects that we wanted to implement or
Mm-hmm.
build. And it's the most amazing thing, bro, because man, when you see the before and after of a project,
Absolutely.
it's just incredible. And Nejwa Villages raised $1.4 million.
MashaAllah.
Like right now in Mali, one third of Mali is covered with water wells by pious projects because of these documentaries. So I don't know what to tell you. It's so humbling in a
It's a
way.
relief.
Yeah, because and the reason why I say this is because I'm telling everybody. I've been saying this since then.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to do this and you want to help people in this way, it's not very complicated. All you
Mm-hmm.
have to do is, what we did: just get a group of friends, someone to film, and buy your tickets. Go down there, have a place to stay and film.
Yep.
Just stay safe and film. And you'd be surprised how much people are willing to support, and that's what happened with us. We were like, you know what, we're aiming for $100,000, and it ended up being 1.4 billion, not billion, one
Million.
point four million dollars.
It's still amazing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah. We have another question from Iman Hussein, who says, How do you make your decisions and know it is the right move?" That's one, and then following up with that, and avoid analysis paralysis. How do you follow your heart or listen to that inner voice and know it's good for you?
Oh man, some deep questions. Okay,
Very
so
philosophical.
yeah, philosophical, exactly. When it comes to decision making, that's a skill that you gotta practice. That's number
Mm-hmm.
one. Number two, you have to read books about how to make wise decisions. So
Yeah.
read books. There are a lot of good books on how to make the most ideal decision. So I definitely recommend you read, because if I start down and tell you how my experience is, I'm not teaching you the way. And
Mm-hmm.
for you to learn the way, you have to go to the books and start reading.
Yeah.
But for me personally, I I I think that ultimately there is no right or wrong. I think that
Mm-hmm.
in not in everything, but in certain situations when you're confused on what decision to make, obviously there are pros and cons to each. So
Right.
each one it might be right or wrong. So it's with how you feel. You write down the factors, the pros and cons. You write them down, and then you talk to your mentors.
Yeah.
But the most important point, is after you decide, you keep moving forward.
Follow through.
Yeah, follow through. Don't regret.
Yeah.
You're only harming yourself when you regret. Oh, why did I? I should have done this. I should have done that. There's a reason why you did this and that from the first place. You know.
Right.
So following through is very important.
Awesome. Awesome. I hope, Iman, that answers your question. So, last question. What are you currently working on? I know since Corona broke out and everybody's been quarantined, and everybody should be practicing social distancing and wearing your masks, being sanitized all the time. Um, Before, I guess, the pandemic occurred, were you working on anything big?
I'm still studying myself for my exams. So
Yeah.
like, here you go. It's literally right next to me. So I'm still in my books, and
Yeah.
I'm trying to finish that as soon as I can.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm also writing a lot of scripts for videos, and I wanted to make sure that I have a collection of videos before I start releasing each one. So
Absolutely.
I hope I can start releasing these videos very soon. So yeah, school, focusing on my family, that's very
Yeah.
important as well,
Yeah.
and social media. Yeah, that's about it.
That's awesome. We have one more
Sure.
question. First, actually, Iman says Jazakumullah khair. And the last question from Super Catwoman 09 says, Salam, can you suggest some of the books that helped you the most?
I did. Okay. I would. I know this is a complicated topic, but Al Ghazali's books were so
You cut off again. One more time,
okay.
Al Ghazali.
Al Ghazali's books are very beautiful and very spiritual,
Mm-hmm.
especially the ones that are translated and are easy to read. Um, and what I suggest to do is you go to the self help section on Amazon and check out the top rated books and try to find books that are on Amazon
Mm-hmm.
that are in the self help section. And I did suggest The Power of Now for a lot of people to help you. You know, if someone is dealing with anxiety or overthinking, The Power of Now is a very powerful book because if for me personally, it helped me just focus on the outside and not overthink inside of your mind and inside of your head. So I found that the most practical book for me that helped me in the
Mm-hmm.
real world.
Okay. We have another question that just came in from Shada Ibrahim. They say, I'm planning to study medicine. As a person who was involved with media, why did you shift your direction to be, uh, you know, pursuing medicine? Did it cut off?
Yeah, it did.
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Why did you choose medicine as your future career?
It comes back to the whole idea of seeing pain and wanting to help people. That's number one. Number
Mm-hmm.
two, I couldn't find anything else that I personally would enjoy. I wasn't that good in math, and biology was my thing.
Mm-hmm.
Inspired in Palestine by a hospital that I lived across from.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw the doctors work there day and night. And the balcony basically would look out at the hospital, and it's the biggest hospital in Gaza. I lived right across from it in
Right.
Palestine. And man, the inspiration that I was getting as a kid, just seeing these doctors just save lives and sometimes fail, of course, but just seeing that, it gave me that empowerment to move forward and do medicine, and it stuck by until today. Yeah,
MashaAllah, that's awesome. Bro, Jazakallah khair
yeah.
for being on the show real time where we are live talking about film and television and everything in between. I'll get right back to you really quick. Thank you, Muhammad, for joining
No
us.
problem. Thank you for having me.
All right, y'all. I hope y'all enjoyed this live stream of real time. If y'all did, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Make sure you hit that post notification down below so you know when we are live again. Um, Make sure you are tuned in this Wednesday. We have the amazing Imam of Instagram, Imam Sohaib Webb, who will be joining us and talking about his journey to becoming this great, mashallah, Muslim American scholar of the West. And so be sure you are tuned in at 6 p.m. CST. It was brought to my attention, in Dallas, we are also CDT, which is Central Daylight Time, just for some clarification. But yeah, make sure y'all are tuned in. This is Mustafa Talib, and I will see y'all in the next one. Peace out. Assalamu alaikum.